I'm Amy and welcome to my tiny house named Merab, meaning abundance. It took my dad and I 2.5 years to build this sweet tiny home that I dreamed about for many years, and let me tell you, it was a faith journey. Lots of tears, lots of sweat, lots of prayers, and lots of my friends and family support went into this home. My address, which I get to make up because I'm a tiny home dweller, is 1010, which comes from the Bible, book of John, verse 10 of chapter 10. The thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but I, Jesus says, I have come that you may have life and life more abundantly. And I have found that God does give us in abundance the desires of our heart when we wait on Him, which is why I've named my house Merab, which is a Hebrew name meaning God will increase. So I know you want to see what's inside. Come on in. Welcome home! So as you can see, when we enter into my house, the first thing you see is my living room. I love to entertain, I love to have dinner parties, and it was very important to me that there was tons of seating. Now, I don't know if you've seen other tiny homes, but some tiny homes only have about this much seating, and that would never cut it for me. So we have a couch the full width of our 8-foot trailer. We have a bay window here that is actually cantilevered 1.5 feet off of the structure of the home. We have another section that makes a little L-shaped couch here. Underneath this section of the couch is actually a water tank in case I'm going to be in a parking spot that has no running water, and I can actually fill the tank through pipes that are under this coffee table and go right into the water tank. And the plumbing for that water tank is actually underneath the corner of this couch. So we have everything contained here. I also have I lovingly refer to as shoe bench. It's not really a bench, but there's a lot of shoes in here. And along that same vein, we have some storage underneath this couch. It's a little empty right now, but I've got my French horn music in there and lots of space for anything else that I would need. And I play the French horn, and when I designed this bay window, I had to design it with the perfect depth to fit my horn case in there. So my horn's got a home. I've got lots of Christmas decorations in this bay window and some blankets. I actually even have, I'm going to show this to you because I think it's amazing that this fits. I actually have an entire huge suitcase down here. This is a check bag size piece of luggage, and I am amazed that it fits. I just keep stuff inside of it. So, oh, forgot the backpack. And you might have noticed when we came in that I have a beautiful piece of stained glass in this window. This stained glass was actually made by my grandmother, Mimi. She used to make stained glass before I was born, and I wanted to see if she would make me some for the house, and she said no. But she did say, well, let's see what I have in my laundry room left over from before. And she had this beautiful piece, and what's so meaningful to me about this piece is that it is a sun, and she always called me her sunshine and sang me, "You are my sunshine." So I always think of Mimi when I see that. And up here we have my mini split, which is my air conditioning. Right now I have an RV 30 amp hookup, so I'm actually able to use it as a heat pump. I will be using solar eventually, which we'll talk about a little later, but for now, the heat pump is working really well too in the wintertime. I want to point out also my awesome ceiling. Now, when I tell you this ceiling was a labor of love, words cannot describe to you, emphasis on labor. I had professional tradesmen tell me that this ceiling was not possible. I did 4 dormered, gabled dormers on the front, 2 on the front, 2 on the back, and there were some mistakes we made early on that caused the ceiling to be very challenging, but I think it turned out really well. I did it all myself. Dad did the trim, and we are so thankful that God helped us figure out how to do it, because there were many moments where we stared. There were entire hours that I stared at the ceiling trying to figure out how I was gonna lay it. And you'll notice that in the middle there is a medallion, which I really like the medallion. I made it myself, so I found a piece from Hobby Lobby and then made some circles out of plywood and got a decorative applique for furniture from Amazon and just put it all together and painted it and put it in the middle. We have left curtains off of our dormer windows, and it just allows a lot of light to come in at all hours of the day. So, oh, and one other thing I want to point out, so important, the classic tiny house table. Shout out to IKEA for our Norden table. This is probably in 70% of tiny homes. And what's so amazing about this table is that it has drawers. Like I said, I love to entertain, and what's also great about this drop leaf table is that both of these leaves come out. I'm actually able to put this table right here, have people sit here, here, and put a chair there, and then we'll talk about the stairs in a second, but the stairs are able to disassemble and turn into seating. And I had a dinner party last couple weeks ago, and I think I had 7 people in total, and there were room for more. So my goal in my tiny home was I need to be able to entertain 10 people in here. And as long as not everyone gets up at the same time, it's totally feasible. So let's go into the kitchen and see where I make the food. Welcome to my kitchen. I love to cook, which is important if you like to have people over for dinner. So it's important that I have at least some semblance of countertop space. So I've got some countertops here over some cabinets, and I've also got some down there over my washer and dryer. Now, I love my countertops. I love laminate. I know that's kind of weird sounding, but they're super durable and they last forever. But I did not want something ugly. So we've got an IKEA faux marble laminate that's been holding up really well, and it was pretty easy to install ourselves. We've got 2 sets of cabinets, one of which is new, one of which came out of a coworker's kitchen which was getting demolished and remodeled. So hopefully you can't tell which is which. And like most tiny houses, I have open shelving in my kitchen. I think that upper cabinets would really make it feel dingy and dark in here, and I'm mostly using the top one for decoration at this point with just a little bit of food storage. Now, you're looking at the dishwasher. There's no dishwasher except for these hands. So it's very important that I have a double-bowled kitchen sink. I am not about to do dishes in a single sink. No way, Jose. And this also came out of my coworker's kitchen. I also really wanted a casement window, one of those windows that opens out like this. And I happened to find this window online for $25. I had to drive a ways to get it, but it was worth it. Now, originally I was going to have an RV-sized oven, and my dad really thought I should reconsider that. And I listened, even though it cost way more money. So I have this propane, entirely propane, 20-inch range with 4 stove hobs. There's currently only 1 rack in there. I'm gonna buy a second one to give myself more room. And what's pretty cool is that at the bottom there is a broiler that uses the pilot light to broil toast or whatever you put in there. I use this all the time, and what's really helpful about this is that you can actually insert AA batteries in order to have the actual oven spark the pilot light instead of having to use a lighter, which I think is super helpful. There's no microwave in my house, so we really rely on this oven. Also, what would a tiny house be without a washer? You gotta have somewhere to do your clothes. So we've got this washer dryer combo unit. I got secondhand LG, except it's missing the G. It both washes and dries clothes. Now, the drying takes forever. One round of drying takes 3.5 hours. And it's not usually dry at the end. Sometimes it is. So I prefer to line dry my clothes, and I've got 2 clotheslines outside. And I think those cost $2 each at Walmart. So, as they say, organic drying. And I've got a wall of art here. I really love my art. I especially love this one. I still remember the days I prayed for the things I have now. So much prayer went into this house when we thought we couldn't keep going, when we didn't know where the money would come from. Many of you helped pray for us, so if that's you, thank you so much. We really appreciate your prayers. And one particular person that prayed a lot for me is Anna Marie. Shout out to Anna Marie, my friend, who gave me this beautiful piece of art from Joshua 1:9. Be strong and courageous, for the Lord is with you wherever you go. This is such an important verse to remember because we're going to be put in positions where we need to stand strong for truth instead of compromising our beliefs, so this is a great reminder. Another thing that you'll notice up here is some weird looking white square, which is a Lunos E² heat recovery vent, or HRV. Now you might be wondering, what is that? Unless you're in the tiny house or eco building world, you probably have never heard of a heat recovery vent or an energy recovery vent. And what this does is it keeps fresh air going in through my house at all times. It also does a little bit of dehumidifying, although that's not its main function. Living in such small square footage, especially with what we call a tight building envelope, so that means caulking all the cracks. Some people have a plastic vapor barrier. I personally don't, but that's another story. It's easy to get stale air in here really fast because there's, including the loft, just under 300 square feet. It's also easy for tiny homes to develop mold and moisture problems because even by boiling a pot of water for spaghetti, by breathing out with 2 people in the same space, you're actually releasing vapor into the air and there's not anywhere for it to go. So the way this works is there's one in the kitchen and there's one in the living room. They are connected via a low voltage wire, and every 60 seconds, one of them is pulling in air from the outside, fresh air, and the other one is pushing out stale air to the outside. Then every 60 seconds, they switch. That way, you're getting fresh air in all portions of the house. Really, you're supposed to have this at the farthest end of the home, but with my design, it wasn't super feasible, but it's been working just fine where it is. And, oh, I want to point out this lovely barnwood, another labor of love, lots of labor in this house. So at the very beginning of my build, before I even really had designs or plans of what I wanted, I saw an ad for a barn that was getting torn down where you could take any barnwood you want for free, which is very rare for them to offer for free. Well, the man, he owned a horse boarding farm and they decided to not board horses anymore. So all of these boards were the horse fence. They just happen to be heart pine, which you can't buy in the stores anymore. It's super durable. Leads us to the next part of my kitchen, which is my little refrigerator. It's about a half-size fridge. It does the job. I mean, I gotta say, it's kind of tight in this refrigerator, but it just forces you to eat food before it goes bad, which somehow I still manage to let things go bad, so I'm learning. And then above my refrigerator, I have some essential oils and some more food storage, as well as a place for extra plates. You can't really see them, but there are a lot of little plates in here for any time that I'm hosting people at my home. Above my refrigerator, I have an appliance cubby, or as appliance garage, as some people say. I have an Instapot, air fryer, food processor, juicer, and even a tiny little fondue pot for those times when you just gotta have queso. Also got a recipe book, and somewhere you have to put your photo albums. I don't really have a coffee table, so I just put it by my Instapot, because that's what you do when you're a tiny house, or you put stuff in random places. And I want to show you the rest of my stairs, which I'm really proud of. These stairs took a long time. We built them out of 3/4 inch plywood boxes, and then we had to really think about how we were going to refinish these stairs. And it took me, I think, a solid week working by myself just to get the finish work on the stairs done. So in here, I have a closet. This is actually an idea of one of our friends that helped us work, that I should get a closet rod that doesn't just go horizontally, but actually uses the full depth of the cube, which I thought was brilliant. And down here we have a propane furnace, which I use if I don't have RV hookup and I'm using solar. It works very well, actually. You can see we have a little metal grate here for it to come out. Also, it's covered in hardy board 360 all around it, so that there is no possible way for it to catch anything on fire. And it's connected to a thermostat, which is by the refrigerator. And I'll go to my pantry next. This pantry is something I got from the Container Store, which has, you can see I have random food in my pantry. Lots of drawers, and then we used a remnant of the countertop just to make it nicer. What was amazing about this is that I searched high and low for mesh metal drawers that would perfectly fit the width of this stair without me having to custom order, and I found only one option, but that's all I needed, was one option. I do wish that I had some space for tall things, because there's nowhere to put a jar of olive oil or cereal boxes. So if you're designing yours, keep that in mind. This stair opens from the top. It's got some laundry related items in it right now. But what's really cool about this stair, it's a little full at the moment, but you can actually remove it and use this to serve food. You can use it as a standing desk. And another thing is, if you have guests and you are desperate for more seating, you can actually take this off, stand it on its side, and sit on it. It is about the size, the height of a bar stool. So I don't do that regularly, but I do it if I have a lot of people over. I love this stair. There's a suitcase in here. Isn't that amazing? When I was building this house, I thought, man, how in the world am I gonna fit my luggage in here? Because I do like to travel. Well, there's your answer, ladies and gentlemen. I just have this stair that goes all the way to the ground. Perfection. And I have lots of sheets and linens and stuff that I don't use often stored inside of the suitcase. Then we have another stair with lots of random stuff in here. I've got random things in here, as well as some workout clothes and my backpack. And the cool thing about this stair, I'm not gonna do it right now, but this stair actually comes out and you can move it around to use it as a seat. I specifically designed it this way so that I could sit on the stair and eat at my kitchen table, which I do every single day. So that was a really important design feature for me. And then the last little bitty stair that we have, so cute. You guessed it, it also opens. I've got some cleaning supplies in there. And the cool thing about this is that I can either put it here, or if I have company over and I don't want it to be in the way, I can put it at the bottom of the stairs. Another thing, this is super helpful, is that you can actually put this over. Oh, it's dirty, sorry. And you can sit on it, and it's a perfect height for the table. So what usually happens is when people are sitting around my kitchen table, somebody is sitting on this stair. Now you may have noticed an awesome feature. The lights on the stairs, LED lights. Many thanks to Dad. It took him 2 days to put these in. And I'm gonna show you something. Doo-doo, doo-doo. Oh yeah, baby. They change colors. I love them. And it was actually pretty challenging to make this work. One of the reasons why it was so challenging is, number one, I didn't know exactly what the design of the lights was gonna be. So we have a wire coming out of this stair, and we had to actually, I guess I will show you this because it's very hard to explain. So the wire goes in there and there's a transformer, and then we actually use this little jumper cable here to jump the distance and then start the LEDs here. That way I could have a removable stair at the bottom, which clearly needs some furniture sliders on it now that I've filled it up. So yeah. Oh well, on that note, let's go check out the bathroom. Ah, the feeling of relaxation. Why? Because I have a full-size tub, baby. That's why. This was my absolute must-have, non-negotiable in this house. I feel like every tiny houser has a must-have. That thing that you redesign the whole floor space for. That thing that causes you to lose square footage in your living room. That thing that gives you a small refrigerator. What is it? My bathtub. I gotta have it. So I'm super thankful for this one. This one actually has a crazy story. Long story short, I heard God tell me to go into this neighborhood which was being developed and built by some home builders. And he had a history of giving me free materials out of the dumpster there. And one day he said, go check it out. And I was driving through and I saw nothing. And then he said, what's that? And I looked and I saw this bathtub facing backwards. So it's fiberglass, so it's entirely gray, and it blended in with everything. I said, is that a bathtub? Lo and behold, it was. I talked to the person in charge of the housing development. He said, yeah, I called the plumber. He ordered the wrong thing. He's supposed to take it back. He never did. So as far as I'm concerned, if you take it right now, it's yours. I said, great. Good thing me and my neighbors are friends, because as a single woman with no truck, I need some help. So shout out to my neighbors who came and helped me pick it up, and I went and rented a Home Depot truck. So this bathtub has been carted around many places, and it is a much loved commodity in my tiny home. Alright, so we have our separate composting toilet, some open shelves for decoration. I'm really proud of this little cubby which holds all my toilet paper, because where else would I put my toilet paper? Plus, you get to see the barnwood through it, which I think is really cool. We've got our electrical panel here, which is AC and DC. Don't mind the missing fuse. That's for the water pump that I'm not using right now. And one of my favorite elements of this build is the solar cabinet. So I hired someone as a consultation to help me design my off-grid system. Currently, I am almost completely off-grid. I have propane, I'm on well water, but I am using an RV hookup. Mostly because I'm a little transient right now and I will have a ground array of panels on the floor and on the ground outside, and I don't really want to buy them and have to cart them around. So I have all the equipment totally hooked up. I'm happy to say I installed myself with a little bit of advice from my electrician, and we're rocking and rolling. So I'm about to set up my system to use the RV hookup like you kind of would for a generator, where it only uses it to charge the batteries, and then once the inverter senses that it's at a certain percentage of charge, it just starts pulling power again. So haven't done that yet, but it's on the list. We got some little storage in here, but you have to be super careful to give room for the equipment to breathe, which is why we have some metal grates and we have not a ton of stuff in here. And then of course there is storage underneath my vanity, and just got some towels in there mostly. And then we have this beautiful piece of elm, which I got from a local sawmill, and we turned it into a countertop. We polyed it multiple times, and here's hoping that it doesn't rot. Welcome to my loft. You may be asking yourself, why is it so spacious up here, Amy? Well, that's because I don't like the fact that most tiny houses have a loft where literally the only thing that fits in there is the bed. I thought I need as many places to hang out in my house as possible. So my loft takes up half the floor space of my house, believe it or not. And I'm a serious bookworm. Now, that you have to get rid of so many things to move into a tiny house, but there was one thing I could not get rid of. My books. Now, yes, I did get rid of some books. That is very sad. But these made it through the fire. So I have lots of books, and eventually I'm going to use money my aunt gave me to get a little chair right here that sits on the floor so that I can have this be my morning reading time. Oh, another thing that's really important about this loft is that the floor actually comes up. Now, ta-da! So the floor is made up of 1/2-inch plywood, and then we have basically just cut these plywood into squares and rectangles so that they lay on top of the studs. And then I have all the floor space of my loft for extra random use items that I don't use regularly, and for off-season clothing. I did have we nailed down all the border pieces so that plywood wouldn't randomly just fall off the loft. Important point. And my friend Ashley gave me a Roomba. Quite luxurious for a tiny house, but it is nice to let it run because it's my only vacuum in this house. This is my bed. So as you can see, we have some lovely dormers right above my bed and some windows which have screens in them so you can get a nice cross breeze going. Now, these closet boxes made out of cedar were built by friends of mine to keep the bugs away from my clothes. However, when I unpacked all my belongings, I realized I don't have that many clothes. I do have more hanging space though. Keep mostly pants and skirts up here. And I have these cloth cubes, one there. I've got a couple over here which hold different clothes. Like this one has some shorts and t-shirts that I wouldn't need to hang up. I'm also an avid journaler, so this box has all the journals I've ever written in chronological order, double rows of it, and Bible commentaries, Chronicles of Narnia, and some pictures of my parents. So this is my loft. My pillow says Simply Blessed, and as I sit here in my completed tiny house, especially in my loft, as I look out over all that I've done with my dad, I think to myself, man, how blessed am I? I'm so thankful. I don't take it lightly, and I thank God that even in the days and months that we didn't know if we could keep going, God did it. He is a finisher. I just want you to know that today. If you're waiting on God to finish something that He started, even if it takes years, He perfects that which concerns us. So I thank God for the blessing of my tiny house.